Hello, friends. On this glorious day in drink history, we are continuing our international tour of the educational drinking show with a visit to Cognac and our friends at HINE. Ladies and gentlemen, producing this episode was no easy venture. It started out simply enough, with us choosing the stunning parlor at the HINE House, located on the banks of the River Charente in the historic town of Jarnac. It's a room full of history and color and good vibes, a feeling that rang true until the equally historic power system blew up some of our equipment upon plugging in, requiring us to get very creative with our setup. But we didn't travel halfway around the world to talk to a legendary cognac house only to be thwarted by a power malfunction. No, ladies and gentlemen, my talented crew stepped up to the plate and created a solution that allowed us to proceed and interview HINE Master Blender Eric Forget. Mr. Forget is a passionate and candid individual who has proudly carried on the tradition of HINE Cognac. Let's do this. This episode of the Educational Drinking Show is sponsored by Junipero Gin, which is the original American craft gin going back to 1996 and the pioneering work of Fritz Maytag, which also makes it the gin of San Francisco. At 98.6 proof, it's a bit stronger than most gins and perfect in your favorite gin cocktail. Good stuff. And with that, it's my great pleasure to share with you my interview with the esteemed HINE Master Blender, Eric Forget.
I am in charge of a couple of things of the estates. Of course, I am the cellar master, but I'm also in charge of all the production. I mean the bottlings and everything, and dry goods and so. Normally, I arrive at the office here. Of course, there is a planning, and more or less in my head, I know more or less what I have to do. But just I'm coming here, the phone is ringing. Oh, I have a problem here, so I have to take my car to join the estate for a problem, for anything. So, to be honest, it's never planned, except for testing. Because on my diary, normally I put the hours and I put the moment when I should test. And when I want to test, normally I am occupied. So no phone, nothing. I have to be concentrated because you should be free. You should be totally open, and you should have your clean brains. Otherwise, everything could happen. That is I would say a good advantage of my job, because I have many things to do, to run. I never know what happens. That's true, except for meetings, or for or for appointments. But otherwise, it could be totally open.
When did your relationship with cognac begin?
I born here. I born in this region. I born in Angoulême, so 30 kilometers east from here. And my grandfather was also a wine grower and distiller, so in my family. And after when I just finished the school, I have to do something, and then I decided to join the university to become a wine engineer, enologist. And I did my study in South, in Montpellier, and in Reims for the Champagne. So I learned about the wine, and then I was obliged to do my military service. So I was an officer in Germany. And normally I have planned to go to Australia to run a winery. And as I had to stay a longer time in Germany for my military service, the job was over. Then, after that, I received a quite good offer in the Cognac area. So it's the reason why I came back, and then job after job, so I arrived at HINE in 1999.
Wow.
So more or less my job was only in the Cognac, or it was all time involved in the Cognac.
Now, what about the wines that are used to make cognac? What makes a great wine for cognac?
Okay, firstly, there is a base, or there is something very important, and we don't have to forget it. If you want to make a good cognac, the best cognac, you should use and you should make the best wine, firstly. The wine is the raw material for the cognac. Between the cognac and the wine, there is two different operations, distillation and aging. If you don't make any mistakes with your barrels, okay, nothing happens. Okay, you have just to wait a little time, years, I mean. For the distillation, the same. It's an industrial process. If you follow the good rules, nothing happens. So you just transform the wine into the cognac. But if you want to make the best cognac, you should have the best wine. You should choose the best wine from the best terroir. In this area of cognac, we have 6 different districts. The best ones are Grand and Petit Champagne, and you know. And these 2 terroirs are very chalky, quite poor, and they deliver, or they're able to deliver the best, I would say, the best flavors, the best bouquet to the wine, the richest, I mean. And of course, it's that we are looking for. So to make the best cognac, you should have the best terroir, and you should make the best wine. And then, more or less, it's quite easy. More or less, it's quite easy. So the key point is the wine, the quality of the wine. Mm-hmm. And I insist a lot on it because it's the key, really, of the quality.
Something that fascinates me about cognac is there's a lot of restrictions that seem to be in place to protect quality. How do you work within those restrictions to create a creative expression of cognac, and how important is the wine in the creation of something unique?
It's a very, very good question. Very, very good question, because as you could imagine, as it's restricted, of course it means it's less open. Region is restricted for the terroir. Using for the barrels, for an example, we are only obliged to use the European oak wood, not American oak wood, so it's something different. So it reduces, I would say, the offer. We should distill here, we should age here. So there are a lot of restrictions, definitely. So the only things you have in your hands and your pocket to work with is the terroir, the wine variety. But to be honest, today 99% is Uni-Blanc, so it's more or less unique. So it's not a key. I mean, the distillation process, yes, because you have many different rules. We never distill as Hennessy, as Courvoisier. So we have our proper distillation rules. You could have differences. And then how you also use the wines. I mean, at HINE, as we work with the best terroir, we want to keep all the aromas, all the quality of the wine, so we distill with the lees. Just to make comparison to understand more how it could be important. When you taste a white wine from Burgundy, aged on the lees, it's very round. There is a lot of body, a little milky or creamy. The same for us if we distill the wines with the lees. And the lees are very, very rich in aromas, in esters. So for HINE, for that we are looking for, I mean, something very rich, with a lot of aromas, with an explosion, more or less like a perfume. We need to have the best wine, and we distill with the lees to keep all the aromas, the richness. That is the key.
Can you tell me about HINE's kind of house style, and how do you get there? How do you create that house style?
Okay, so the philosophy, the idea, or the quality of HINE is something unique in the world of the cognac. Mostly, or a lot of cognac are quite woody, because the wood is necessary for the aging. So the people, they use barrels, new oak wood, of course, and the tannins, the polyphenol, they give something to the cognac, definitely. But sometimes it's too strong. Just to sum up, because you have also to explain to everybody, and they should understand quite rapidly. In the cognac, all the elements, all the bouquet comes from 2 sources, only 2 sources. Raw material, I mean the wine, or the distilled wine, I mean the fresh wine, and the rest come from the wood. But as you could imagine, the element of the wood could be strong, could be, I would say, with a lot of important, very important in terms of powerful. And if you have too much wood, it covers the other element and it kills the rest or it hides the rest. At HINE, we want to preserve the balance between the aromas from the grapes, from the wine, and the element from the wood. It means that all the HINE Cognac products are lighter in wood to keep this richness. So HINE is unique because we want to combine the element from the raw material and we want to keep them. So it means we age less in new oak wood because we need to have something balanced and we never want to kill the richness from the wine. It is the philosophy of HINE. So the best, the richest product and never killed or never covered by the wood. That's the key, I would say, the philosophy of HINE for everything.
And given the importance of grapes in the wine, you must like the fact that you have your own vineyard that you can work with. Can you tell me about Domaine Hine?
So just about the wine variety, today everything is planted with Uni Blanc, so there is no differences everywhere in this area. So Domaine Hine. So Domaine Hine is in Grand Champagne, is a domain with 80 hectares currently, 80 hectares in the best part of Grand Champagne, where it's very, very hilly. Bonneuil is the vicinity, the parish. It's called Bonneuil. Bonneuil means good eye. So it means from Bonneuil you could see everywhere where it's very nice. So it means good, nice place it means. And Bonneuil, the soil in Bonneuil is very, very good. In Grand Champagne you have 15 or 17 different parishes. And among these 15 or 17, I don't want to make mistake, but more or less like that, 5 are known as the best, and Bonneuil is one of them. So the terroir in Bonneuil is gorgeous. It's very, very good, and we produce from this terroir, from this estate, the best wine we could imagine. So it's the reason why we're quite happy to run this estate. And currently today, it represents 20% of our needs.
Wow. So
it's a good base to work. And as we are in charge of everything, I mean the cultivation and then the winemaking, so for a part we are in charge from the roots to the consumer in terms of the bottles. So we manage everything. That's very important.
And it's so cool because typically cognac is a blend of vineyard sources and a blend of years, but with Domaine Hine, you can isolate a single vineyard and isolate a single year. Tell me about that.
Yes, you are speaking about the cognac itself, Domaine Hine.
Yes.
So it was, I don't want to tell them too strong, but it was my idea since a long time, more or less. because okay, of course, at HINE we are specialists for the vintages, you know. So vintage means product of 1 year. And the rest, for the most important part, are blends. But the blends means, mix between years and everything. But as Domaine Hine, as the best terroir of the best district, I mean Grand Champagne, in my head, I thought, it was a couple of time ago, how could we, I would say, offer to the customers the best, the best terroir, the best wine, the best cognac. And more or less something like something we could find from the Grand Chateau from the Bordeaux, from the Medoc and everything. Just translation from the soil to the product, without any, I would say, addition from the wood, from anything else. So really the translation of the terroir. And it was the key, I would say, the kickoff of the product. So and I have selected among the different parcels we have, I believe the best south part on the slope to the south. We have just selected more or less roughly 20 barrels. The best batch. And if you have a look, because of course you have seen the bottles, it's very pale, very, very pale. And there is only one reason. I just want to keep the elements from the grapes. I mean the translation from the soil. It's the reason why we have just, I would say, just a few wood, just necessary for the aging, not more. So it's poorer than the others, exactly to, I would say, to propose the best of the terroir. And in addition, as I consider that Domaine Hine is the signature of the HINE style, more than the philosophy, it's signature really. We believe that we don't have to launch every year if a year is not good enough. So we have launched 2 years ago, 2005. It was 2006 the last year. Normally it should be the 2007. Sorry, it wasn't a good year. We don't launch 2007. So we have to wait the next 2008. So we don't sell a lot, but it's really the essence. I believe that Domaine Hine is the essence of the HINE style.
And as distiller and blender, was that a difficult project to figure out and bring to life?
Sorry, could you repeat it?
Well, it seems it's not very typical, right? Like this approach is rather rare.
This approach, it's totally unique.
Yeah, so
Totally
was it
unique.
hard to figure out the best way to do it? Did you experiment or did you know exactly what you wanted to do?
No, it's so simple to make a Domaine Hine because you don't have to blend. You have just to select the best. You just have to, I would say, to check everything during the aging time. But the aging time for Domaine Hine is 10 years, not more.
Yeah.
Because if you age something older, the part of the wood could take too much place. And I consider that 8 to 10 years is the best average to maintain, to keep the freshness, the fruitiness, the floral hints, and a slight presence of wood. I mean vanilla and so, and not too much. So to make Domaine Hine, to make a domain product, it's very easy. I don't have to mix. I just to follow some rules. So it's an easy, it's a cashy job. Nothing to do, just to wait.
Yeah.
After the selection, of course, at the beginning. Yeah, right.
And what kind of differences do you see comparing the 2005 and the 2006?
The comparison is only, I would say, at the beginning you never know. Firstly, okay, there are differences between years because it wasn't the same weather. So you could have, I would say, you could have an idea about the final product, but you have to wait a couple of years after a certain time of aging, because some product, it's for everything the same. Some product they could improve the quality, and sometimes it could decrease. So it takes minimum 5 years to be sure that you could get something good. 2005 and 2006, 2005 was, I would say, it was a very good year in terms of weather conditions. I mean, not too much rain. It was good sun, temperature quite like good. So it was more or less, I would say, a good combination between all the elements, weather elements. 2006 was more sunny, so there is more power. And if you compare 2006 and 2005, but you could consider that one is a little, there is more body, but sometimes it could be a little shorter. Okay, it's the opposite. So that is the difference. But of course, the status, they are very high, but there are differences. Like for the wine, because the wine make the difference first.
Yeah.
Only the wine, only the wine.
And then, just very similar to this is the thing that maybe Hine is best known for, vintages.
Yes.
Those got to be fun for you because, so that's different vineyard sources, but all the same year.
Yes, but at HINE, normally a vintage, at HINE I mean, not in general, but for HINE, normally the vintage is only made from one batch, only one batch. Every year I select the best batch of Grand Champagne. It could come from our estate, sometimes from a wine grower, because some wine growers or small distiller, Bouillon de Cru, you mean, sometimes they do so good product. Yeah. But of course, they could produce something better than from our estate. It happens. And for 2 years, I couldn't make the choice between two, so it was a mix from two different, but normally it's the best batch from every year from Grand Champagne. I select it for barrels, and then we wait 20 years.
Do you find that the vintage expressions mature differently than the blended expressions?
Totally different. Totally different, because a blend is a mix from many different batches, of course, years. So, of course, the more you add, the more complex it should be. A vintage, as just explained, it's only one batch. So definitely, it's a little thinner because you have less addition. A vintage is really the translation of the year condition, like for the wine. So you could have something very good, you could have something very well balanced, but if you compare with a blend, it's less complex. It's less complex. The body could be the same, but in terms of flavors, in terms of aromas, you have normally shorter. And at HINE, we don't age. Also, we don't age too much our vintage, just also to keep element from the year. It's not the same thing than for the domain. The domain, we want to preserve the elements from the terroir. For the vintage, we want to preserve the element from the weather. I mean, from the year condition. So, but it's the same approach. Even if for the vintage we age more or less between 20 and 23 years, more or less, a little more. So it's more like an XO if you want to compare.
Are there any vintages that stand out as being just legendary?
1953, I believe it is the best from the last century. I heard a lot about 1914.
Wow.
And we have still here, and we had many occasions to taste it. Of course, it's a legendary vintage. But some other, they are also good, 50s, 57, 61,
yeah.
Like in the Bordeaux. We are very similar than the Bordeaux,
okay.
because we have the same condition, more or less, we are very near.
Yeah.
So if it's a very good year for Bordeaux, you could consider that for Cognac, it's not so far. So 61, and from the last century, I believe, it will be 1988.
Wow.
If you have ideas about the wines from Bordeaux, 88 is a very good surprise. At the beginning, was not so impressed, but year after year, the quality improved all the time. So we have just reached a curve like that. It was all the time. So it's
because you're listening to Joshua Tree while you were making it.
No, but no, really, right? Okay, that's true. No, but 88 is I would say it's a mystery, because 88 wasn't a good year at the beginning. It was very wet, a lot of rain. We had a lot of mildew, so it destroyed a third of the yield. And finally, in September, the sun comes back, and then we have just done the harvest with the best condition. And as a result, the 88 is a very, very good year. And it's something I could just let you to discover. 88 is gorgeous. So the whole dust line 1914, more or less, they are out of stock now. And we have just a couple of bottles to recover as souvenirs. But in the last decades, 88, 75 was also good. 75 like in Bordeaux, but 88 maybe my best from the last years.
And what's so cool about HINE is going back to this idea of subtle, creative decisions bound by restriction. You don't just do Domaine Hine, you don't just do vintages, you do early landed vintages,
yes.
Which are so fun. Can you explain that concept?
The concept of the blends. Yeah. Of the I would say the mainstream. I mean, if I could use the term, the concept is the richest product. The aim is to do the best with the best people and with the best product. And to make a cognac is quite complex. To make a wine it's easier, a lot easier, because I have just explained the process of the cognac there is 4 different phases: winemaking, distillation, aging, blending. So winemaking is not easy. It's not easy because every year something changes, okay? And because you have many districts. And then you have the distillation, a rule: if you don't make any mistake, the way making the same. But the blending is very important. The aim is for the blends, we have to replicate all the time the same product. Of course, it's not like if you want to make a pie, you have the recipe, Okay, and you have just to follow, you have the weight and everything. All the time, it's just replication because you have the same ingredients. For a blend, it's not the same. Yeah. Because if the batch is off, you have to replace it with the same, I would say, the same impression, the same tasting.
Yeah.
Sometimes a new blend could be done with 100% new cognacs, and that the result should be the same on the same line. So that's fun. That's fun. And I was saying the secret. There is no secret, but more or less, the line of HINE is everything comes here in our warehouses is in line with the final product. We age everything here at HINE. We don't purchase from the spot market. Just a few. If you need something else different, you could. But our policy is we buy from the beginning. I mean, we buy from the wine, we buy from the distillate, and then, as we have selected all the product in line with our direction, with our final product, and as we follow everything that we have decided, I mean, everything is online, is on tracks, is on the rails. So there is nothing could wrong happen. So it's very easy. It is more or less the secret, but more or less it's our la patte, how we say in French. I mean we say savoir-faire. You understand in French? The savoir-faire is your secret. When you cook, you have your we say personal touch. It's that we say at HINE. That's we try to follow.
But the early landed isn't aged here.
No,
it's
just
totally different.
Yes, the early landed is a vintage.
Yeah.
The early landed, they age here during the 2 first years. At the beginning, that I just mentioned before, I select the best batch to become a vintage. Yeah. Okay. So when we receive the cognac, the distillate, so we fill in new oak wood for 10 months, not more. And then we refill in all the ones because we have enough from the wood, or maybe less than 10 months, but anyway. So we fill again in all the cask for 1.5 months, 1.5 years more. And then we split the batch in two parts. We keep one here in our cellar for 20 years to age. And the second we send to UK. And they stay there 20 years in barrels. They stay in the same barrels. Okay, we check it, of course. Sometimes I go there every 2 years, more or less, to have a look. And then after 20 years, they come here back. And we fill the bottles separately. We never mix early landed and the rest of the batch age here. So in parallel, you have from the same batch, the cognac age here in Jarnac, in the cognac condition aging, and the second part, aged in UK, they are called early landed. So from the same year as a vintage, you have the early landed and the more or less Jarnac style.
And the humidity is different, yes?
Totally different. The difference is just the aging condition. There, it's an underground cellar, so it's very damp and very cold, and not only for a couple of months, but all the year long. So it means the aging is a little, we say, it takes more time. It's less rapid, and after 20 years, but the early landed is a little, I would say, means a little younger. It's still more fresh, more lively. It's a little, in comparison, I mean. So the cognac ones, or the cognac age here, is more like I would say, a normal cognac. There is something around. It's quite well balanced between the nose and the mouth. In UK, or the early landed, they are more on the nose. They are still fresh. They are still fruity and floral, more than the other ones. That is the difference.
I'm like an early landed adult.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too. Me too. I prefer to drink. I prefer the Jarnac one because it's rounder. But in fact, for the nose, it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, when they want to describe the early landed, they say early landed is there is a hint of orange peel. It's true. Maybe it's not orange, but it could be citrus. But anyway, something with some slight acidity, and I love it. I love it.